Alrighty, guys, welcome back. We are watching Nisemonogatari episode 11. Is the finale of both Nisemonogatari and, of course, of Tsukihi Phoenix. So, man, I can't believe we're already here. Can't believe we're already done with Nisemonogatari. It feels like it hasn't been that long, but I don't know. I guess it has been because it's been like 3 months or something, basically. So, man, I don't know. Um, so I mean, last time, we finally actually got into the Tsukihi stuff of the arc, and it very obviously clearly connects to Araki as well, so I am incredibly curious as to how this is gonna go. Um, man, I don't know. I guess we just gotta see. Not much more to say than that. I really want to get into this. I want to watch this real bad. So let's get started. You can line up your own copy with this if you want to. We are starting in 3, 2, 1. Ooh. Hmm. But it is immortal, right? Oh, yeah, makes sense. Okay. So is Skihi the egg then? You know what I mean? Because she's the replacement, right? The fake sister. Ooh, wow. Okay. Oh, okay. But it like okay. So it is like a phoenix. Yeah, I get it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like his mom. Yeah. If you even say it's a victim, I mean, like I guess. Hmm. Oh man. Mm-hmm. Yes, she's not deceiving anyone, right? But it is a fake, evidently. Oh, the moon. Oh, man, what a scene. Man, that was a good scene. Huh. Yeah, so I mean like I feel like the implication here of which I had already assumed is that Skihi isn't actively deceiving anyone, right? I mean, maybe I guess you could say she is. Like I wonder if she knows that she's an oddity or not. I could really see it going either way. I wonder, does it even matter, Because she's still her. If it's been her the whole time, then she is Skihi. She's not a fake. you know. So so I guess like let's say even if Skihi does know that she is an oddity and that she is the bird, then I don't even think that matters. Like even if she's been hiding that from everyone and she's known that this whole time, she's still Skihi. She's still I still think that it doesn't even matter then, even if she is like deceiving people about it. But I guess like the reason I'm saying this is because I feel like the implication of that scene in the last episode, um, with her saying that like her scars heal and all of that, and they feel like she might just not know. Of course, that would be kind of a hard thing to. I gotta read that. That'd be kind of a hard thing to do to go through your whole life not realizing you heal instantly. What is he possibly gonna say? What is the explanation? Sure. Okay. I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Probably. Hmm. Is your house the gates of hell? I hope not. Yeah, does she remember? Like, because like if she remembers getting murdered moments ago, then that's gonna be kind of hard to explain. Of course. Hmm. That's what matters, right? Well, that's what matters for Araki. But I get what I get the point, of course. I'm sure you would. I'm sure you would. Hmm. No kidding. Kind of your life has been rough lately, huh? Whole lot of stuff going on. Okay, what are we doing? Thank you. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Ah. Hmm. Hmm. True. True. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Nice. Nice. Okay. And like through him doing this, it's obvious that he has to accept that he's also part of the family still. Right? You know what I mean? Like going back to what he said in episode 1 of Nisei. Oh man. We've had some good shots this episode. The moon. Sometimes you probably shouldn't, but sure. Oh, where are we going? Oh man. Beautiful. To yeah. For himself too, I think, right? I think really this is actually very like ooh. Does he expect to lose then? That makes sense. Yeah, she never calls people by their name, does she? Yeah. All right. I surely there's no subtext there. Man, some ridiculously good scenes. Oh, sorry. Okay. Wow. Wow. All right. We are really. Okay. What? She's Karen? Okay. I thought you were just saying the sun is your enemy. Come on. I guess we're getting ready to fight. That's wow. He sure would. Mm-hmm. Only, yeah. What do you know about Oshino? I don't really know if it's a situation where you'll tell us everything, though. So I wish you would, though. Ooh, call him a human still. Yeah. Hmm. Of course. This really is like. I can't talk about it right now. Sure, maybe. Okay. Come on. Man, she is a little brat, huh? Like, that she's never had one in the first place, so. All right. Man, I love Ononoki, apparently. Ooh. Yeah, actually. Interesting. From when? Kaiki? Okay. All right. Yeah, Kaiki acted like they were like vague acquaintances. Okay. That makes you feel like the oh, okay, another upperclassman. So another yeah. So I assume we'll have another, right? Oh, okay. How how did he know about it? I mean, I guess I literally like brought that up in the last episode, right? About how okay, but how okay. I guess okay. I'm can you? You can. Okay. All right. Okay. Oh man, do you? Oh man, he won't let his mind be changed, huh? Great. Perfect. Just what Aragi needs. Oh God. Oh, man. All right. Oh my Jesus. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. I feel like this applies very well to Aragi's thing about how you can let the opinion of other people like change what you know is right and stuff, you know? Because her argument is literally just, oh, what about the opinion of other people? Oh, so she doesn't know? Okay. I mean, I could literally see it either way, so like, I don't know. Okay. That's surely what Aragi would think, right? That's what he thinks about himself, yeah. She already tries to be anyway. Okay, it's like, what? Alright. What are we doing? Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Man, it's hard for me to focus on the fight because, like, I'm just what she's saying is so important and relevant that I have to read it. They haven't even gotten started yet down here. Oh no. Ononoki got owned. True. He's not dead. He isn't dead yet. Asking her to stand up. Of course. Uh-huh. And he gets that. But it's but hmm. Yeah. It's okay, sure. Hmm. Okay. Okay. Sure. All right. All right. Sure. And that's progress, right? Hmm. I wonder if he learned it or if he developed it by himself. I wonder what Aragi would think about that. Hmm. It's actually a very interesting proposition with like the way Aragi views the world, right? Whether or not you have to work to be good or work to not be evil. Yeah, that's yeah. And a good question and an indistinguishable fake. Sure, makes sense. Okay. Oh, what a line. Man, you think? I don't know. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Interesting. Huh. Huh. I suppose not. I can see that in a way. Yeah. It's like he wanted to, yeah, be judged, basically. Mm-hmm. I think that was his reaction. Yeah. Mm-hmm. At the start, before they fought. Hmm. I think. Hmm. Okay. Sure. Hmm. Right. Right. Okay. Right. Sure. So what did we learn here, Aragi? Oh. So why didn't you do something about it then? Which one are you, Araki? Are you a monster like human or a human like monster? Oh, did she cut her hair? Oh, time for this monster to bow out. That's the end? Man, okay. All right. That was a really good episode, wasn't it? Hmm. Man, that was a good episode. Man, that's the end of Nisemonogatari. That's crazy. Okay. So yeah, that was really good. That was good. It wrapped up well. Should I say it wrapped anything up really with Araki? Probably not. It feels very similar to me. Here, I'll get into it in the discussion. It's the last time I get this ending after all. Ooh. She did cut her hair. Okay. Just like Hanakawa. When are we gonna get a beach episode in Monogatari? I'm surprised we didn't get one in Nisei, honestly. Oh, is that the end? We don't get an outro? Oh, we don't. Okay. Um, all right. We'll talk about it in the discussion. Man, I almost want to say that was my favorite episode of the show, but I don't know. There's some very tough competition, so maybe I can't go that far. But maybe I could say this opening scene is like my favorite scene of the show. Honestly, I'm trying to think what else would. Man, so good, very good, a very good episode, a very good arc. We're done with Nisemonogatari. I can't believe it. Um, it's man, it felt more like Nisemonogatari in general. I guess felt like we really honed in on this whole like Nisemono, fake thing. It was very, I don't know, it felt much more focused than, especially because like in Bakemonogatari, like, if you watch like my Kizu discussions and my Kizu reactions, I had like my crazy interpretation of what you could take from the title of Bakemonogatari being a monster in relation to like what Aragi thinks a monster is, which is like connection to other people. And like what he in Bakemonogatari, that's what he does. He forms all these new connections with people, right? Going off like what he says at the end of like Kizu 2, right? And in Nisemonogatari, I mean, it was really. I guess I don't really know what to say. It feels like we just took this theme of a fake, and we really kind of we applied that to a whole lot of stuff, didn't we? Aragi thinks he's a fake. Tsukihi's a fake. Karen has fake justice. Kaiki's a fake, whatever that means. Um, yeah, I don't know. It was very good. I really liked it. It's weird that there were several comments throughout my videos about Nisei where people say that like people don't like this as much compared to like Bake or Kizu. I don't know how, because this was really good. I don't know. It would be impossible for me to like rank like how I feel because it's like I feel like that just wouldn't be fair. Like rank how I feel with like each I guess section of the story comparatively, but this did not feel like any kind of downgrade to me. That's for sure. So man, I don't know what people are talking about. I guess because it was good. It was very good. It didn't really feel. I don't know. Frankly, it didn't even feel that different in terms of like story writing or anything. Like I don't. We really we kind of like obviously there's a different structure to it than like Bake because they were like much shorter. Nisei it was kind of like this whole all of these 11 episodes were kind of almost like one arc in the sense of like we had Aragi's emotional issue that was kind of set up in episode 1 with him feeling like a fake, and then we go through all 11 episodes of this where we really explore that idea of like a fake and whatever that means. um so it kind of just felt like one really long arc in a way, and I mean that's not like a bad thing, right? So I don't know, I really loved Nisei. This was really good. I really liked it. I am man I don't know, I wonder where we're going from here. That's something I've wondered because like I know this anime has like a ridiculous number of episodes, like 120 or something. We are like what 25 in, 26 in or something, so we aren't even close to anywhere into it yet. So we have so much left. I just don't know where we're going. But I guess we'll see next time, won't we? Because man, I gotta pull up the watch order chart again. I think the torrent that I downloaded for all of this like has it all like in order already for like the correct watch order. So that's pretty nice. But anyway, let's talk about the episode, should we? So yeah, this opening scene is incredible. Um, it's very good. It has like this, like the music is like it's like the opening. It's like platinum disco, but it's like a different It's like an orchestral version of it, you know, if you would call it that, I suppose. So, Skihi's a fake, right? She's a fake in this very like weird like uh, sense of um in a way she's a fake in a sense that doesn't matter at all. Right? Let's phrase it like that. It literally doesn't matter. Like she has always been Skihi. She has been Skihi since birth. Like the way that Kaganui phrased it in the last episode was it seemed like Skihi like replaced Skihi and was like a evil, you know, monster deceiving everyone. But no, she has always been Skihi. So this is Skihi. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just we're just looking at like this origin of her and saying like, "Oh, that must mean she's a fake," you know, and she's not real. But no, it's Skihi. It's always been Skihi. So this is Skihi, you know. Um Here, we'll talk about how all of this can apply to Araki and his struggle too, because this is so obviously, literally, just like you can apply all of this to the way Araki thinks about himself right now, right? But we'll talk about Skihi first, because like she's kind of, you know, I feel sad if I didn't. But like, so Skihi has always been Skihi, obviously. None of this matters. Like I hope you know what I mean by that. Like it literally, like, who cares if she's an oddity, right? She's Skihi, right? Um, and I guess it's like the thing that's very interesting to me is whether or not she knows that she is the oddity. Like Kaganui says that she doesn't, and that she doesn't know. I'm not going to take that as gospel. Maybe I should. Maybe that's silly, but I guess just like if we let's just like play a thought experiment here, right? Like even if she does know that she is the evil bird phoenix thing, does it even matter? Right? She's still Skihi. It's not like she's hiding something. It's like the exact same thing that Aragi brought up in the first episode, right? Like, obviously, it just directly applies to that about how he thinks he has to tell his family that he is a vampire now and that he's a, you know, an evil monster who he thinks has changed completely. He's not himself anymore. So he thinks he's a fake. So he thinks he has to tell his family about it and, like, you know, have this dramatic, you know, because he thinks he doesn't fit in with his family. He thinks he's a fake, right? But like obviously with Skihi, even if she knows that she's an oddity and that she's, you know, fake, whatever that means, it doesn't even matter to me. It literally doesn't even matter to me. If she knows in her mind, like, okay, yeah, I'm the bird, and I've been, you know, pretending to be a person this whole time, she's still Skihi. You know, like it doesn't matter, you know? Like I don't unless she's like plotting to do some evil nefarious thing, but I don't think she is, right? She's Skihi. So I guess that's just like, yeah, I don't know. Probably not much else to say on it than that about like in terms of her. And I guess if she doesn't know, um, if anything, like I wonder how she would react to knowing. I feel like she wouldn't react to it the same way Aragi has, right? Because like Aragi knows that he's a vampire and that he's an oddity, and he has reacted in this way of thinking he has to tell his family that he doesn't fit in, blah 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 blah. I wonder if Skihi doesn't know, which I guess the show's kind of telling me she doesn't. I wonder how she would react to knowing, but I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting to wonder about, I suppose. Hmm. And yeah, she's immortal, which is very. So I guess she just dies, um, of old age. What I mean, that's like that you don't actually die. There always has to be something that kills you. You don't actually just like die of old age eventually. So so I do wonder how she will actually ever die, because like you have to die. Like it's not just you reach a certain age and then you drop dead. You know, there always has to be something that kills you. So I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Maybe she's immune to illnesses, but she's not immune to cardiac arrest, I guess. And yeah, I don't know. Such a good scene. Such a good scene. If we want to talk about it in like the bizarre, like fucking comparing like Skihi and like what she could potentially represent in terms of like how she's like related to Araki. Like she is literally related to Araki. She's this part of Araki that he for a moment almost like rejects. Like maybe he doesn't, right? You know. He obviously doesn't. He comes to the conclusion that she is his real sister anyway, right? Um and that just reminds me very much of like Aragi's internal struggle here with the way that he has changed as a person ever since Spring Break. You know, like it's not that it reminds me of it; it is that. That is what the author is doing here. You know, so the fact that he like has this momentary struggle of like thinking about whether or not she is his real sister and blah 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 blah, it's very much just it completely applies to him and how he is thinking about how whether or not the way he has changed since spring break is still him or not, you know. Um, and I guess like my question here is if Araragi does realize that Skihi is still him, um, that this monstrous side of himself is still him. If he does realize that, doesn't that doesn't that just kind of fix everything for him, you know? So I guess we'll talk about it more when we get to the Kaganui stuff because I don't think it's that simple. I don't actually think it's all solved. I think there's a very important distinction in the way he's thinking about it in himself. So yeah, I don't know. I guess like, hmm, if Karen is so similar to Aragi in this justice sense and all of this, right? We've talked about this many times. She's literally just like Kiyomi with the whole justice stuff. I guess like is there any like resemblance to the way Skihi acts that you could like draw to Aragi in his actions, like beyond just the like like the uh, what would you even call it? Like the way he's like viewing her and like this it's like an analogy for the way he views himself and like this side of him that he thinks is like monstrous and her like being a monster and all of that, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if there's some parts of Skihi's behavior that I should be like drawing a connection between with Aragi's behavior, or if it's just like, just what I've already brought up with like the whole like monster analogy stuff, right? Because it is weird. It's weird that Karen is so similar to Aragi in behavior, and Skihi seems to be so similar to Aragi only in like this, like very like metaphorical way of like the way he views himself and all of this, like But I mean, maybe that makes sense, right? Maybe it makes sense in the way of like, it's interesting that Skihi is apparently the one who's the fake, um, but is like uh, much less like similar to Aragi than like Karen is, Maybe no, maybe that's not weird. Maybe that like makes sense, right? Because of like the way that because of the way that Aragi thinks about like that apparent, monster side of himself, right? Hmm. Karen is man. I feel like Karen wearing this new outfit compared to like the really baggy clothes from before, you could draw something from it. I really think you could, but whatever. I wanted to talk about that 2 episodes ago too, in like the rock paper scissors episode, but I forgot, and now I just think it's just like silly. I don't know. I guess you can probably like imagine like what you could draw from it. I guess with like the way Aragi views her compared to before and all of that. Anyway, um, yeah, so he asks Karen if she would die for him and if she would die for Skihi, and she says yes, of course. Because obviously, just like for Aragi, that's like what matters, right? If you would die for someone or not. Um, I mean, kind of, right? Aragi would die for, I don't know, anyone or anything, right? If he saw a raccoon dying on the side of the road, he would kill himself for it. But like, I don't know. I think this just makes a lot of sense in Aragi's mind. It reminds me of like the thing that Hanakawa said in Kizu, about how like is she wouldn't think of someone as a friend if she wouldn't die for them. I guess I don't think Aragi thinks of things exactly like that. Maybe he does. Maybe he feels like he has this obligation to want to die for people. He definitely does. He does feel like he has that obligation. Um, and I guess that's like so him framing it like this, asking her explicitly, "Would you die for her?" It's like that's what matters to him, because he thinks if he still feels this obligation to die for people that he cares about, or really anyone, but especially his family, then if he and Karen still have that feeling, then that's what like matters with Skihi. So I guess it's so interesting that he's so able to accept Skihi being Skihi so easily, but it's like this crazy struggle for himself to accept like the change within him. But maybe again, but it really could be the whole like since Skihi has always been Skihi, that's like the important part here. And for him, he has changed. So I guess it's the nature of that change that matters, right? Um, but I just don't know. I don't know how to I don't know what to think about what his conclusion is from all of this, I guess, you know? Because I can see, just like always, how he always applies an unfair standard to himself compared to other people. There are so many ways that I can think about that he can apply an unfair standard here where he doesn't actually come away from this accepting himself and the change within him any more than before. Um, I guess at the very least, I could say that he's accepted that he isn't like a completely different person. Maybe could I even say that? God, I don't know. It's maybe like okay, I guess bottom of the barrel, we could say that he has accepted that he isn't evil and deceiving his family, right? Because that's like what he was like thinking in the first episode. So at the very least, I think we can say that throughout all of this, through all of this stuff that happened with Tsukihi, he has learned that, and that he isn't an evil monster deceiving his family, just like how Tsukihi isn't, right? So, at the very least, I think we can accept that he has learned that, right? Surely, right? I hope. I hope so, because I think if we look back at everything that's happened since Kizu and like Bake, did he learn anything through Bake? Like kinda, right? Like certainly, you know. Um, at least through the influence of other people he did, you know. He kind of always has this external motivation for the changes in his actions. Like the reason why he decides to not let Hanakawa kill him at the end of Bake, right? Is because of Shinjogahara, right? And not just because of Shinjogahara, because of everyone, right? Like he thinks explicitly about how like everyone would be sad if he died, right? Like, um, so it's again, it's not something coming from within him that he's realizing on his own. It is, you know, the opinions of other people, which is apparently evil to him. So, and that's just why it's like it's so hard to know, like in his head, what he actually thinks is like stuff that he has like changed his mind on and like learned, and what is stuff that he thinks is just like him being weak and letting the opinions of others like sway him, you know? And it really could be everything could fit into the latter category. So who knows, I guess. Hmm. And yeah, he kisses Skihi. Like, sure, I of course he has to do that, and he feels nothing. So yeah, she's his sister, of course, of course. And like, yeah, I mean, like, I want to take a positive outlook on it. That of course he can realize that this applies to him as well. I just realized, like I said, I was going to talk about Skihi, but it's just so it's. I'm sorry, it's so hard to just talk about Skihi here because it's so obvious that this just completely applies to Araki, right? Like, this is the resolution of the emotional conflict that was brought up in the first episode, right? So, um, but yeah, I mean, if we do want to talk about Ski for a second, there's also like the obvious like you could apply this to like anyone really, not like in real life too, like anyone who doesn't fit in. Yeah, I guess I suppose you know. I guess that's kind of like stories in general, you know. That even if you are an evil monster, you can still you know you're still part of your family, right? I guess it's like the audience can take that message so easily. I just hope Aragi does too. Hmm. It's interesting how much we compare Skihi to the moon. I guess again, like I guess it's yeah, maybe it's obvious, right? Like the moon, like Shinobu talks about how much she loves the moon because like she's a vampire, right? The vampires like the nighttime. So Skihi, Skihi being like so like obviously like close to the same thing of like Aragi and this whole vampire stuff going on with him. It makes sense that Skihi is like the moon, you know? Like yeah, I get it, right? Man, some crazy shots. These crows look good. They don't. Maybe they don't look as good as the ones in Kizu, but I don't know. They're looking good for what was this? 2011, 2012. Crazy, honestly. So Karen, maybe you shouldn't do whatever your brother says, but I don't know. Don't. I mean, this is like a Mario Kart track. Like, what? What are we doing here? Hmm. And so what I'm wondering here, like, because Aragi's going off to fight Kaganui, he says he won't get anything out of doing it, right? He's just gonna stall for time, right? Because I think at this point, before Aragi has had the conversation with Kaganui, he thinks in his mind that what he's doing is wrong. And that might sound crazy, but what I mean by that is wrong by his standards, right? Like he thinks that what he is fundamentally wrong ever since he's changed and become a vampire and all of that, and became like what being a vampire means, right? Um, so he also thinks that like Tsukihi, like obviously he just like accepted that Tsukihi is his sister. So like I hope you understand what I mean here. But I think that he believes that Tsukihi is also fundamentally like wrong in the same way that like he is, right? That someone like Kaganui, who is like she keeps calling herself the good guy, and she, there's all, it's like she is the arbiter of justice, it's like he still fully expects her to just beat him up and kill him and go kill Tsukihi, right? So that's why he's like, oh, nothing at all, because he thinks that someone who is the objective arbiter of justice, who's the good guy, is gonna see through his charade here, because he thinks he's like tricking himself about all of this, and it's just gonna know and realize and like oh, beat him up and kill him and go kill Tsukihi, right? Like that's what I mean, right? Like it's the contradiction between like the way he's thinking now and like this objective sense of justice that he thinks exists and that he needs to live up to, right? And it's like Kaganui is like a representation of that, right? Like if we think about like the thing he said to Karen all the time about how you have to be strong and right and all of that, I mean, Kaganui seems to be the strongest person ever. So she kind of meets that. She kind of meets that standard. I don't. I mean, I don't know if Araki really sees it that way or not. I mean, like maybe I guess he doesn't know how strong she is at this point, so like probably not. That might just be kind of like a silly, I don't know, silly thing, I guess. But and I guess that's like physical strength. It's not like the same kind of like strength that Araki was talking about. So maybe that actually doesn't really apply. I just think that's kind of funny. And like, I'm not saying like Aragi's actions here are bad. I don't really think like I don't think you can really apply this in the same way as like him, like the negative way you can view him deciding to kill himself for other people and like Bake and Kizu, right? Um, because I don't really think this really feels like to me like a turning point where it's him it's him going to fight. Yeah, he's going to fight the Arbiter of Justice. He's going to like really see, I guess, if what he's thinking is correct or not about Tsukihi, I suppose. I don't really know if he's exactly thinking of it like that. That might be too far for him. Like, because like his stance on justice is so much so that it's like objective that I almost wonder if he just ends up thinking that, oh, okay, so Kaganui isn't actually the good guy who fights in the name of justice because she didn't kill me. So, man, I don't know. And yeah, and it applies to him too, right? It's also about him and him thinking that he's an evil monster deceiving his family, right? It's not just Tsukihi. Hmm. So like, I'm surprised that he gives Shinobi this much blood and lets her get this powerful. But I guess like at the same time, I feel like ever since the bath scene, it's so obvious. I guess it's been obvious this whole time that Shinobu isn't going to betray him, right? Like she's had so many opportunities to do it, so many like she could have killed him so many times, right? And she just hasn't. Like I mean, so like every time that she's fed him. I mean, that he's fed her, just like he says at the end of Kizu, like, if you feel like he can kill me, and she never has. So, I guess this level of trust makes sense to me. I mean, man, we were back to the cram school. Had we been here at all during this whole arc otherwise? I don't think so, right? We never came here during Karen B, did we? No, I don't think so. I guess we never had any reason to, but hmm. And yeah, and it's like we start off the conversation by immediately like talking about how she isn't Oshino, which is very interesting. I really wonder what Aragi thinks about Oshino. Because I think that's really important, like the way he actually views him. Because it was really kind of hard to tell Hubake and Kizu, right? Um, but like I feel like have a decent grasp of like the way Aragi is thinking about Kaganui right now. I think the way he views Kaiki is clear. I'm just curious, like, what he actually thinks about Oshino, right? Because I don't think Oshino. It's not like Aragi agreed with Oshino most of the time about anything, right? I think they clearly had like some disagreements on the way they viewed things and everything. So, because it's like Oshino feels like he's like the wise like mentor character. You don't know if Aragi really views him like that at all. So, I don't know. I guess that's an aside. Who knows? Who knows? Hmm. And yeah, Kaganui just wants to fight, of course, of course. And like it's just like right here when she says that they include a human and monster, and Aragi like makes this little noise, you know. I think that's just him realizing the two ways you could view it right now is it's either him realizing that okay, um, so then Kaganui isn't the arbiter of justice who is going to judge me for being evil, right? That's one way you can view it, right? And it's almost like you can almost say he's like disappointed by it. Like maybe that's crazy, but I really think so, you know. Um, or the other way you can view it is like, um, it's him just realizing that, like, okay, so Kaganui she's the good guy, and she claims to be on the side of justice and all this, and she still calls him a human, right? So she's not recognizing him as evil, you know? But I feel like Aragi is so stubborn and so, like, stupid that he's not going to accept, he's not going to accept the former there, that he's not going to accept that what he is isn't evil, you know? Because I just feel like that would like fix everything at this point, and we're too early on in the story for Aragi to have fixed everything about the way he views himself. So, man, I don't know. Hmm. So that's why I'm leaning so much more towards thinking that like Aragi isn't just accepting, like he can be accepting of Tsukihi and what she is, but just like always, he can apply an unfair standard to himself. And despite the ridiculously obvious, insane, clear connection between himself and Tsukihi and the way he views himself and the way he views her, he is still going to end up accepting her and not accepting himself, right? Like, I really think that's where we're headed, unfortunately. So, God, Ononoki is like a little brat. Like, she is mean. I don't know. I guess, she doesn't like emote at all. So I don't know. I guess that's just how she is, and we just can't tell because she never makes any facial expressions other than an alleged post look. Okay, and yeah, and so we get this weird stuff about how Kaganui and Kaiki and Oshino were at the same school, or they went to college together, which, like, I guess Kaiki just loves lying because he pretended that he just, like, barely knew them and was, like, vaguely acquainted with them. But no, they were all university classmates, apparently with a fourth person as well. They mentioned that in a second. Which makes me feel like there has to be, like, a fourth specialist we're going to meet at some point, right? Um, and I wonder, I guess this isn't really a spoiler, but I do wonder. Someone said like how Kaganui, how Yozuru, Kaganui, Yozuru, and Ononoki Yatsugi. Their names Yozuru and Yatsugi mean like it's like sine and tangent or something, or is it sine and cosine or something like that? So we're missing the third one. So you would think the third, of sine, cosine, and tangent will show up eventually, right? So that's making me feel like that has to be who the last person is, right? The fourth person who was in the club. And then like I don't like apparently it was Kaiki who gave Kaganui this information about Aragi's sister, but like how did Kaiki know about it? I guess I just figured that in some way like it was like common knowledge and that not like common knowledge maybe, but like there was just some way they had of like knowing this stuff, detecting this kind of stuff. But like somehow Kaiki knew about it and Kaganui didn't, and like I don't know. I don't know. Couldn't tell you. Aragi doesn't like Kaiki. Unlucky. Hmm. And we get into the argument here. Your sister is a fake. Aragi says yes, I'll love her. He's taken that side, and she starts beating him up and all of this. And I guess it just seems like to me the point of the conversation here is it seems so um yeah, nothing I say will change it, but like literally nothing will change his mind. But it seems so like obviously related to the stuff that Aragi says to Karen at the end of Karen B, right? About how the opinions of other people don't matter and you shouldn't let them change what you think is right or wrong, So like therefore everything that Kaganui is saying here about how Aragi can't apply his sense of justice to other people, right? To the rest of his family. Um I guess that's just obviously like directly related to what Aragi said to Karen about how he can't let his other people's opinions change his view of justice. So, like, is I guess I just don't know. Does her saying all of this change Aragi's mind in some way? I guess I don't think it does. I guess like what I'm stuck up on here it seems like Kaganui saying that she's the good guy and that she's on the side of justice and all of this is like that makes me feel like she would be in the same boat as Araki, right? Like in terms of like believing in objective justice and all of that, right? Because she thinks that Skihi is evil no matter what, just because of like what she is, you know. Um, and that's like very much a position of this whole like objective justice thing, you know, that no matter what, it doesn't matter. She's fundamentally wrong. She goes against like what's right and wrong, right? And it doesn't matter anything else. So it's interesting that her argument here, talking about how Araki can't apply his morals to other people, it feels like that goes against his idea of objective justice, right? Because he kind, well, I don't know. Does he think you should do that? I mean, maybe not explicitly. He thinks that he should always follow this objective sense in right and wrong. But just the way that Kaganui is like equating it to that he's forcing it on other people. I mean, maybe it's just like disconnected in a way. But like, is Kaganui not also doing that? You know, she's coming in to murder Skihi, right? But I guess that just comes from Kaganui's point of view that what Skihi is objectively wrong. So like she's doing the right thing. So I guess in a way, it's like the point here that there is no objective right and wrong, and that we have two characters that are both convinced that what they think is objectively right. And like that, in a way, obviously undermines both of their positions, right? Like Kaganui can't convince Araragi of this, and Araragi can't be convinced by Kaganui. So like that means that neither of them can be objectively right or wrong, you know? Like maybe that's the point here. Maybe that's why Kaganui like gives up in the end, right? Like maybe. If so, I really don't know if Aragi views it that way. Because again, if that somehow undermined Aragi's like sense of justice, that would be crazy. I really don't think it does. I guess because I guess the end of this, the conclusion of this fight is Aragi not changing his mind. It's Aragi winning, right? So yeah, I mean it's really it's Aragi failing to get beaten up and killed by her. So really it's Kaganui failing to convince him, right? It's not like Aragi made some great argument that convinced her, you know. God, I want to read these lines again. I'm sorry. And yeah, and like she's saying all of this stuff that obviously Aragi thinks of himself, right? So, and then it's like just the fact that she fails to kill him has to mean something. Like, you know what I mean? Because it really is. It's like Aragi is being judged here. That's what it feels like. And he doesn't die. So, surely he'll get something out of that, right? Because like if we're I guess if we're applying everything that Aragi thinks about himself to um what Kaganui's saying, like his Kaganui's saying all this stuff about how think about how awful it'll be when everyone finds out about Skihi. That's what Aragi thinks about himself, right? So like I guess in a way, this is just convincing Aragi to never tell his family about him being a vampire and changing, you know, but not like for a good reason. Because again, because like my interpretation of it in a way was just how like Aragi doesn't need to tell his family about being a vampire and like the change that that represents in him because it's just like normal and it's not like you don't have to. It's not like some crazy thing he needs to be ashamed of. Um, but I feel like Kaganui's arguments here aren't gonna go in that way for him at least, right? He's gonna think of it as okay, I should never tell my family because they will, I don't know, they won't like it. Ononoki got owned by Shinobu. Shinobu doesn't fight because Aragi didn't lose, so sure, sounds right to me, I guess. Sounds right to me. I guess it reminds me in a way of like when Aragi decided to sacrifice himself for Kiss Shot in the first Kizu movie, right? Because that really was it was like him, yeah, it was like him committing suicide essentially, right? Like literally. and like him failing to die there, right? Like him being brought back to life. This kind of reminds me of that, like him failing to be killed by Kaganui here. Because again, I feel like this is different than like the other times when he tries to kill himself for another person. This is really him just like God. It's more so about him and the way he views himself, you know. Even though like Tsukihi is like the outlet through which we're doing that, you know. Although I just maybe Aragi doesn't think of it like that way just because of the unfair standard he applies to himself. I don't know. And yeah, what you consider right's up to you, of course. Don't force it on other people. Aragi says he will. Hmm. And like, you know, Aragi mentioned all these negative things that he'll do to his family. Which like I get what he means, but it's also like I think he thinks this is what he's doing. He thinks he's lying to them. He thinks he's deceiving them. He thinks he's just causing trouble for them, you know. And it's like I guess if he can reach a point where he thinks at least that that's just okay, then like that's kind of like the bottom baseline. Like okay, sure, I guess. If he has reached the point where he thinks that he's still deceiving and lying to them and all of that, but that's just like fine, then I guess that's better than nothing. I don't think he's actually doing any of that stuff, but hmm. Yeah, if lying is evil, then I'm fine with being evil. And I guess that really is just like the I guess that's the conclusion here, right? Is it's not like he has accepted that what he is isn't evil and that he, you know, and that the change that has happened in him since Kizu and Bake, that it isn't like bad. No, he still thinks it's evil. He just thinks he's fine with it. He thinks he's fine with being evil. So, yeah, it's nowhere near full acceptance of understanding what he is and who he is, and that he's still himself, just like Tsukihi is still Tsukihi. Um, it's just him thinking, okay, I'm evil, but that's okay. So yeah, it certainly has not been the solution, the end solution, the end point for Aragi should be, I'm not evil. That should be like that. That's where we want to reach, right? So yeah, we have not solved this at all. And yeah, this whole idea of fundamental good versus fundamental evil is very interesting. Like, how does it apply to Aragi? What do we think Aragi thinks about this, right? Like, in Aragi's mind, I think in Aragi's mind, oh god, I actually don't know. I guess I could imagine it either way, right? Like, I think Aragi would believe more so in fundamental good, right? I think that applies really well to like the way he views the world. Um, because it's like his whole thing about humanity and how he thinks like connection to other people is bad and it changes you and you know all of that, right? So if he thinks what he is, the way he's born is like fundamental good. Also, this is a crazy shot. I didn't realize that they were on like the edges of the shot. That's crazy. um, if he thinks the way he was born is just like, you know, that's him and that's how he should be, and then he gets changed by other people and that's bad, then that to me is like he has to resist that change, right? So um he has to work to not be evil. That's what Aragi thinks of himself, right? Is that he's born good and things will tempt him to be evil and he has to reject them. At least I think, right? I mean, like that makes sense to me, you know? Because otherwise, because the other way around would be that if he thinks he was born evil, then he would want other people to change him, right? Because he thinks he needs to change. So, hmm. But then again, I feel like that does apply to Aragi too, right? Like that if someone does good, then it's not their true self but a lie. I feel like that does kind of apply to Aragi in a way. Um, because of like the way that he always views his own actions, right? That he always thinks that like what he does for other people is like not real and that he doesn't actually do anything and that it's like, you know, that he's like not good enough to help other people, right? So I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe I guess in a way you just can't apply Aragi fully to either of these, right? Hmm. And yeah, this crazy line between the real thing and a fake, which is worth between the real thing and a fake, which is worth more? Um, what was the fake is of far greater value, and its deliberate attempt to be real. It's more real than the real thing. Man, that is a crazy line. Man, that is insane, isn't it? Like, jeez, what a line. Man, that is a thinker, isn't it? And yeah, Oshino being in the middle, Kagami being on the other side, that makes sense, right? Sure. Makes sense to me. Hmm. And yeah, and the fact Kaganui says that there's this lesson that she learned here. I really feel like more so the lesson she learned is just that she couldn't beat up Aragi and change his mind, right? Like that's what matters here, you know? I don't think Aragi learned the same lesson exactly because of what he said about how he thinks he's still evil, you know? That makes me think in like some sad part of his mind, he has to think that Tsukihi is evil, right? Like you know what I mean? Like if he still thinks that what he is evil, but that's okay. Does he think that what Tsukihi is evil, but that's okay? Like maybe, and that's really sad, right? Like I disagree with that, and I don't think that's like the message. Obviously, like we're supposed to disagree with Aragi. So, hmm. Yeah, I don't know what the unlimited rulebook is. I couldn't tell you. And yeah, and I think like Araki, yeah, he says it was because she called him a human, which makes sense, I guess. And there are the two ways to view that, as I said, about how whether or not she is actually an objective arbiter of justice or whether or not she isn't justice, you know. Those are the two ways he could view it. Hmm. Sayonara. And I wonder if we will see her again. Because again, like my thought with Oshino is that we'll never see him again. So, because like I was talking about how it's like he fits into like the mentor character category, you know. He really feels like the I don't know. I would be very surprised if we ever see him again. I mean, maybe we would. I don't know. I said this before too that like maybe in like some like I don't know he can come back and save the day or something. I don't but I I doubt that. I doubt that. I mean, I guess it would be nice like maybe depending on like how we take Oshino, I guess he could like no, I don't know. I feel like he wouldn't show up again. He can't like Oshino can't show up in the story again until Aragi like has everything figured out, you know? Um I feel like it would be really weird if Oshino showed up again while Aragi's still dealing with all this, you know? So he probably just won't show up again. Maybe he would. God, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Hmm. And like the way he phrases this, like he did it all for her. Like he did it for himself too. Like, come on. A human-like monster and a monster-like human. Which one is he and which one is Tsukihi, huh? I think they're both just people, personally. I don't know. And yeah, I mean, I guess just obviously through his acceptance of Tsukihi, you would hope that he's found acceptance of himself, but I think we've covered that, because even at the end here, he calls himself a monster, which again, it's not. I don't think it's acceptance of being a monster in a way. Well, no, I guess in a way it is acceptance of being a monster, right? He thinks that he is a monster and that he is evil. He's just telling himself that he's okay with that, which it is progress, right? You can at least say that's progress. That's better than him wanting to die because he's evil, right? If he can accept it, that's better than nothing. So, man, and that really, like, I can't believe people say they don't like Nisei because this feels like such a perfect conclusion to like Bake and Kizu, right? Like to that whole thing about Aragi with this monster stuff. Like, obviously, it's not fully solved. I don't know if we'll come back to it directly or if just Aragi's thinking will just evolve around it in the future. But it feels like such a perfect conclusion, basically, to like that whole thing about Aragi and like viewing himself like a monster, you know? So yeah, I don't know. This if we view this as a trilogy, Bake, Kizu, Nisei, man, it was good. It was good. So I'm very curious where we will go from here. Hmm. Let me read the stuff at the start real quick. I didn't forget. Aragi Tsukihi. Her hair grows much too quickly, huh? Now that I think about it, that's why she can completely change her hairstyle every few months without wearing wigs. She had a bob cut until just recently. Now her hair reaches her shoulders, which is much longer than my hair. How can her bangs grow down to her shoulder in just 1 month? Anyway, Conbury's hair grows fast because of her erotic lifestyle. Sure, but this isn't the time where such a joke could explain anything. Something like this isn't funny. That speed is unnatural. Her regrowth ability. Of course, cutting her hair doesn't impact her life at all, so this regrowth ability doesn't have a drastic effect, but still. Following this idea of regeneration, her nails must grow really fast as well. Tsukihi must have an unusually fast metabolism. Just today, she was taking a shower, and I was thinking she had been cutting her nails a bit often. Although it's just a minor thing, a small nuance that wouldn't cause suspicion or ever raise attention. But there were too many such occurrences. There were just too many. In the end, I just look in the other direction, because she's my family. I won't feel out of place until you believe that it's out of place. No, it won't feel out of place until you believe it's out of place. Ooh, that is a... The impostor is an impostor because it can't be distinguished from the real thing. The proof of its falsity is in its resemblance to the real thing. And that is what Aragi thinks about himself. Alrighty. Well, that was Nisemonogatari. Um, that was good. That was really good. Yeah, cool. Awesome. I am excited to see where we're going from here. So leave a comment, tell me what you think, and I will see you in the next one.